everybody. Laura Ingalls Wilder here, Zazoo Plazz. Sunday, July 9th, 2023. Well, I made it. I made it back to daytime. It's like, I don't even know what time it is. It's like 8 in the morning or something. 8:45, I don't know. But I'm back. Yep, I made it all around the clock. I actually, by just sleeping, I sleep every 14 hours. And then, no, 10 hours. And then I'm up for 14. And I just keep following it around the clock. And at some point, yesterday, I actually had to give up Saturday. So I had to do my Saturday workout on Sunday and eat my Sunday breakfast on Sunday. Even though I got up at midnight, I had to give up a day. But my strategy has worked. See, when all seems crazy in the world outside, one thing you can do is you can stick to your habits. No matter what time of day it is, I always follow my set habits, and I'm good. So I was coming out here, and the blue heron, who I haven't seen because I've been here at night, it just majestically flies across the pond. You know, it's kind of like a friend that you haven't seen in a while, and then when you're reunited, and it feels so good. Okay, Peaches and Herb, get out of here. You pick up right where you left off. He flies across the pond as if to announce my arrival. She's back! Oh, man. So, yeah, Zazoo Plazz. Sleep a little Plazic. I made it out here. So, even though it's 8 o'clock in the morning, when I get done with here, I'm going to go and have my leftover enchiladas. And I got to get to bed by 3 in the afternoon, I'll be out. So then I got to sleep again. But it's kind of like Forrest Gump. When he runs across the country and he says, well, when I get hungry, I eat. Whatever. So that's it's an experiment I'm running. And, yeah, it's an adventure. So, anyway, today, let's see, did I do all the introductory stuff? Yeah, I got all kinds of, see, what I didn't miss about daytime was the damn bugs and the humidity and the people out jogging and their little dogs. It's just fine. But when I'm trying to be peaceful and do my Zazoo report, I love the serenity of night because, nothing disturbs that except, police officers. But now that they know me, maybe that won't be a problem. So my kid, the younger one, he's here, there, and everywhere. He went to some concert last night. He says, oh, his girlfriend's in Japan. I don't know. It's not my world, But my husband and the whole crew, they're going to go to my mother-in-law's old house. They're cleaning it up to, either sell it or rent it. This has been going on. Well, this is like a thing that's going on. Maybe you can relate. So I'm on an incline here. I hope this works. I'll just loop it around. There we go. No big deal. I got this. So, mysterious things kind of come up. They surface, My husband's cleaning up. These are things that I've been after him for years to clean up, right? And all of a sudden now, it's all happening without my having to do anything. So, get out of here. Things just mysteriously surface. Things that would be very appropriate on that show, Oddities. That show, I think it's still on. My kids loved it. Where they have like animal hearts swimming in jars and, weird, like, straight jackets and like weird, unusual sort of steampunk kind of clothing. So anyway, this is the specimen that came up. I think that this is left over from the pandemic because See, it says University of New Haven on there. So that's where both my kids were in 20, well, let's see, in 2021 to 2022, the year my oldest son graduated. My youngest son was there studying fire science as a freshman. So apparently, and that was the year, that the pandemic was still kind of going on. So for a while, he was stuck in his dorm room, and he really couldn't go out. So there's a baby in a bottle of hand sanitizer. See the baby in there? Ooh. You can see him. He's floating in there. Ooh. So I guess this is how my kid must have felt. Look at that. He's in there. It's like, in the womb or something. In the womb. So we're in Cancer season now, right? Sun is in Cancer. Cancer's all about mom, the womb, going home, feelings, childhood, right? All that stuff, little babies floating in jars of water, or whatever this is. So it's perfect because there's a reading from Zechariah. My son's name is Zach, so that's like Zachary. Yeah, so everything here, and it's the readings today is how I always start. It's just a jumping off place for me to go into the cosmic pool. I don't have to apologize to anything. I'm just telling you that's my technique. I look at the readings for the week that, as a former Catholic, it helps me kind of ground myself, like touching a tree. It's kind of like my roots, my roots go into the earth. You got to ground yourself before you can, stretch for the sky, right? So it's kind of like one of those things. And I do the readings and I look for words that jump out at me, So that's a little bit of my crazy inspiration. Everybody's got something. Everybody who's working on their spiritual gifts has, some little quirky thing, whether it's astrology, they bounce off of. You've got to start with something that inspires you, and nature definitely inspires me. I see something new. Every time I come out here, it's new. This is the same woods I've been living next to since 1997. And yet, they're so different, right? Every time I come out, there's a new bird, a new tree. The trees are different. Everything's different, right? So that's another constant, change. So we got the baby in the bottle. So I said, okay, baby in the bottle, and I'm reading about Zechariah, justice, putting down the warrior's bow, having the humility, something about, his dominion, God's dominion, sea to sea, sea in the river that goes to the ends of the earth. So it's a lot of nautical images. Water is Cancer, right? Cancer, water, the crab. So, yeah, and humility, Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, right? I mean, so I started looking up donkeys, beasts of burden. Not a big Rolling Stones fan. It's kind of a little boomery for me. So, that's not, I'm trying to get that song out of my head. But I kept reading. See, well, the babe, we're in spirit, right? We are not of the flesh, right? We are a spirit in a body. Spirit, right? Like the baby. That's us, right? It's like us in our body. And we start out in the water, our mother's womb or whatever, and and then, but each one of us is unique, right? Each one of us, little babies, is totally unique. But why? Where do we go after that? Knowing that we're one of a kind. Do we take on? We eat what our mother eats when we're in the womb, right? Well, how about when we get out of the womb? Do we still eat? We're fed things by people because we can't survive on our own. But, then we just keep doing it. At a certain point, we can survive on our own. But we allow ourselves to be fed still as if we were totally dependent on this idea or that person or that relationship or that food, right? So it says, instead of what Jesus was getting at, he said, God raises up all who are bowed down under the, take up my yoke. It's easy, the burden is light. And I started thinking yoke. What reminds me of yolk? What comes to mind when I think yolk? And I thought eggs, egg yolks. And then I thought, Weird Al, eat it. Boiled or fried and, just egg whites and tea. He has a whole part of that song that's all about eggs, right? So I start, okay, so that it's going to be, it's a parody, but, and it's yolk, it's good yolk, right? Yolks. Yeah, so the reason that song is so perfect is because if you really think about it, of course it was using Michael Jackson's song, Beat It, and I found out some interesting stuff about that. And I got a lot of bananas in my delivery order this week from the grocery store, and I have a lot of ham in the fridge because I was going to make mac and cheese and split pea soup. So, have a banana, have some more ham. It doesn't matter if it's fresh or spam, whatever. Anyway, I don't want to misquote Weird Al, so I'm going to put the link down below and you can check it out. That song, oh my gosh. Talk about a champion for the underdog. It is Weird Al. Oh my gosh. My husband just dug up Weird Al. It's something about a polka album. It's Weird Al with his accordion. Apparently his parents had bought this Weird Al album like in the 80s thinking it was polka because his parents were Polish, right? So they bought it thinking it was the other Al Yankovic or whatever, just polka. And then they got it and they realized that it was Weird Al doing parodies of rock songs. So Garrett, my husband, inherited the album, and he loves it because it's our generation now. It's Gen X, really. Yeah. Even though Weird Al was technically a boomer, but I think a lot of the songs that he parodied were songs that we knew, growing up from the 70s to mostly the 80s and beyond, So I would say we could claim him as one of our own to a certain extent, especially the Michael Jackson stuff. Now that was, let's see, Eat It. It was released February 28, 1984. Zazoo Plazz, my book, was released February 29th, 2020. So there's that. But 84, no, I was a freshman in college when he released that. He wasn't sure. He had to check with Michael Jackson, right, now, to make sure, it's okay. And he even paid him royalties for, allowing the parody of his video. But, Michael Jackson thought it was very amusing. So he said, okay, you can do it, which, speaks well for Michael Jackson, the fact that he allowed himself to be, imitated, parodied, whatever. But, I think it was good because really, if you think about it, it probably brought Michael Jackson more awareness. Like those people who would hear my Weird Al song, people who weren't, then they'd be like, oh, I want to hear Michael Jackson's version of it. Because if you didn't see Michael Jackson's version of it, Weird Al's version wouldn't make any sense. And this was MTV time. This was 84. Everything was based on MTV. So that's another reason why it's a Gen X thing. But anyway, October 19th, 89, it was certified gold. It was Weird Al's highest. He gets up to number 12 on the Billboard until White and Nerdy got up to number 9 in 2006. But he did win the 1984 Grammy for comedy recording. Uh, and he outranked, he got to number 1 in Australia with Beat It versus, or Eat It. But Beat It only got to number 3. So he beat it with Eat It. So anyway, that's just some interesting trivia I pulled from the wiki data, interwebs. Anyway, Eddie Van Halen did the original guitar, but some guy, Rick Daring, yes, did the guitar for Eat It. Interesting, they had some of the same dancers in the video, which was so cool. But I'm not just here to regurgitate facts about, that song. But what I think is, it talks about my burden. Jesus said this. My burden is, my yoke is easy and the burden light. What about burdens and yokes? I think about oxen, right? From this book, The Little House in the Prairie books that I read when I was a little girl. I remember, my grandmother gave me the set, and because my grandmother was born in South Dakota, and she introduced me to the Laura Ingalls Wilder's books even before Little House in the Prairie was on TV. When I was little, I was reading the books, and I remember that book Farmer Boy, about Laura Ingalls' husband, Almanzo Wilder, who grew up on a farm. I guess it was in New York. And he used to get up early, have to, milk the cows and train the oxen. They put in the yoke, and then he put the yoke thing on his shoulders. I remember him going out and saying he had a little yoke and his dad had a big yoke, and they'd go out and tap the trees for maple syrup. My son is doing that. My son is now a forestry major at University of Connecticut. And they go out, in March and tap the trees and make the maple syrup, So, all that I was reading about as a little kid. And, just the image of the yoke, on your shoulders, it would be very heavy, wouldn't it, if you didn't have that thing, which, would allow you to balance. If it, was one side heavier than the other, you'd go, But it's kind of that balance. And then they trained the calves. Once they started using horses, I think it changed. But oxen were, able to have the thing around their neck and bear it, So that was I'll have to do a little more research on that. But that's very interesting to me. But that's what I thought of, I'm no expert on oxen. Obviously, I grew up in a suburb of Hartford, Connecticut. I'm a suburban chick, but I remember reading about it and thinking it was really interesting. My parents used to take me to farms. They had friends who had a farm out in Ashford, Connecticut, which is almost all the way out to Massachusetts if you're going toward Boston. And they, I don't know if they have oxen. That's mostly out west, I think. But they definitely had, I had friends who had horses. There were chickens, cows, pig, all that stuff out there by Yukon. They have a farm. Definitely cows, sheep, all kinds of roosters and chickens, and geese. We get a lot of that stuff here. But I was reflecting on that, the whole beast of burden. Why is his burden light? It's because, if you're laboring and you're bowed down, even if you're a cubicle worker, that's why I had to stop doing that, because I started listening to my body. And if my body said, you know what, I want to move around, and you're stuck working for somebody, you're like one of those, you're being force-fed their goals, their productivity, their hand-me-down, hopes in that, oh yeah, you put in so many hours, you're gonna be, climbing the corporate ladder. What if I don't want to put my ladder on that wall? What if I want to get my own ladder? You know, take another path. So, yeah. So anytime, you're eating it. Anytime you're being forced to, keep up with someone else's pace. Like I was reflecting lately. I used to be, with a running group, and it was nice to get started, but then I didn't want to keep their pace because once you get in a group, right? It's interesting what happens. You start out on your own, right? You're like, yeah, I'm all psyched to run, and then I'd get out there, and so would be, yep, and then distract me from, the peace that I wanted to experience. They wouldn't be looking at the woods. They'd be, I gotta do a race, and I gotta make this time, and I gotta make that time. And then I'd notice that, one friend would just run ahead and leave me in the dirt, and then maybe there's one that would run with me. And that was my really good running buddy. And then we'd notice we'd notice when the other was tired. We'd notice when the other was, not feeling well or whatever. And that's great if you can find a friend like that who, runs at your pace. But, for the most part, what I did, what I enjoyed was just running by myself. And then I could, if I saw a hawk in the woods, I could stop and take a picture. Or I could stop and rest and have some water. I didn't have somebody breathing on my neck, and also my own competitiveness would take over, right? I'd see that, that group, whether I was on my bike or I'd see the group, usually guys, like a herd of cattle, hooves, they'd go by me. And then I'd be going around, then I'd get, like 3 or 4, like, older women, you know the type. They're, gossiping, and walking 3 or 4, across, and they, get out of my way, Not to be mean, but, then there were those types. And then, I'd go on these retreats, and I'd think, oh, I'm going to go, and I'm going to see cool stuff in the woods, and I'm going to, I'll climb and stop at the top, and I'll go at my own pace. And then I get with these women who are like, where, you gotta hurry, we need to, come on, Zuzi, come on, Zazoo. I'm like, don't call me that. It's Zazoo. You call me Leslie. You don't get to call me Zazoo. And there was this one woman one time. Oh my gosh, she was one of those teacher types, Kathy or Nancy or something or other. She was probably in her late 60s. I was 53 and she was probably, 67 or something like that. And, Kathy wanted to make good time so she could get, back down the mountain and go and have her wine and her whatever, And and it had rained recently. We're climbing this mountain. And I said, no. I stopped in the middle of the woods. I said, no, you are not making me keep your pace. It is straight down slippery here, and I want to stop. And I want to take my goddamn time down this mountain, and you're not going to make me. So she went on her merry way, and I did my thing, and it all turned out fine. The people who waited for me, the person, that was a person that I can walk with, a person who sees my view of the world, right? And there are those really cool people that you'll meet who maybe they're a little confused by your stance at first. Maybe they're not used to being stood up to by impudent, Gen Xers who are very confident in their own, standing in the world. Anyway, I don't take orders, so ask my mother. No, she's gone, never mind. But yeah, she couldn't, it was obvious that I was my own kid in terms of setting my own, you know, my own expectations for myself, my own day, my own schedule. And that's for me, I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to conform to what someone looking in says about me. Oh, you're this, you're that, you have this degree, you have that, so you're this. If that's the way you want to see me, fine. But, it's something we all need to think about. Who cares what anybody, thinks of us, right? That's how you lighten your burden. You take a good long look at what makes you you. And my way isn't your way. And I'm not forcing anybody to follow, conform, or anything. I'm just out here in the woods blowing off steam. And so, I'm just a joker out in the woods here. What do I know? But, maybe something I muse about will make you think. Something, a little bell will go off. Yeah, so, yeah, I talk about what interests me. Weird Al. What else did I talk about today? But no, I follow my interests. I don't set boundaries or schedules for myself. I allow myself to experience life the way God meant me to experience life. As me, eating when I should be eating, sleeping when I should be, just listening to my body, right? Listening, allowing the emotions to come and go and not having the mind get too involved in it. Just kind of observing. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, wow. Look at that. So, whew. I do prefer the nighttime, though. Human is not my cup of tea. So anyway, and that goes for technology, too. I find it very, very distasteful to jump at every new technology that comes down the pike. Because, first of all, I come from a long line of late adapters. My dad, although he was in computers his whole career, he'd say, I'm going to wait a little bit, see how this all washes out, and then maybe he'd, so like 10 years after the, personal computer comes in, okay, I guess this is all right now for me to jump in. So that's why when at my son's graduation in 2022, I handed my dad my phone, and he held his thumb down on I said, oh, just take a picture of me with my husband and the kid. He held his finger down, and I got 45 pictures on my phone, nearly identical except for the eye rolls at the end that my husband and I were starting to realize that my dad still had not grasped in 2022 the phone is not the camera thing. So anyway, I gotta get home, have my enchiladas, and scan all those slides and photos I have in my boxes. Anyway, that's a good yoke for today. So anyway, bye-bye, and stay cool. Stay cool, be your cool self, and keep it light. And I'll talk to you next week. Take care.